Hey, what's up, podcast? It's Jeff. Just want to jump in here. This is a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk. This is actually going to be the audio recorded from a Facebook Live that our team is doing every single day, Monday through Friday, at 8 a.m. Eastern Time in our Facebook private group. You can get in that group at teachbettergroup.com or go on to Facebook and just search Teach Better Team. You'll see our page and then you'll see the group. Get in there. So here we go, a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk pulled from one of our Facebook Live videos in our private group at teachbettergroup.com. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to our daily drop-in this morning that we get to do every single morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in our private Facebook group to talk shop about education, bring in educators to tell their story and answer your questions. So as we are getting started, feel free to comment, say good morning, tell us that you can hear us, kind of all those things that we always worry about very early in the morning. I have Brian Zwemke with me. Brian, how are you doing? Have you had your coffee yet? Is really the first question I want to know the answer to.
I have had my coffee. Good morning, Ray. Thanks for having me. I've had my coffee this morning. It's the best part of waking up is having a coffee. I just got a new coffee maker, and I'm excited about it. I'm grounding my own beans now. Am I grounding them or grinding them?
All I care about is the fact that it sounds like you have to work really hard to get your coffee in the morning. I don't know if that's my style.
Well, I was a K-Cup guy for a long time.
See? Okay.
And now I got like a 2-in-1 K-Cupper and maker, and then you can set a timer on it, and it's worked out real well. Just a little product placement for you. I'm drinking out of the Teach Better mug.
Teach Better mug is big. I'm a little jealous. I don't have a Teach Better mug. I have like a pretty yellow mug this morning. So I do feel like everybody needs a good Teach Better mug, but those are like a part of the original. You can't just go order those.
I know a guy who might be able to hook you up with something from Teach Better. I don't know if it's a really good educational consulting group, support system. The Teach Better team is really, it's like based out of Ohio. And
wait, so they sell mugs is what you're telling me? Because that's really what I don't understand. Because if you go to the swag site for teachbetter.com, you can't get that mug. You have like an exclusive like option right there.
Is it still 25%?
No, it's not 25% off because it's not Teacher Appreciation Week anymore. I know.
I have it on good authority that you can go and still buy things on the swag shop, and they'll be, oh, hey, I have an alarm to start a daily drop-in.
Oh, daily drop-in from the Teach Better team. I'm glad we're here. We do have a lot of people commenting that they like your mug, but Kristen actually upped her game for the entire daily drop-in family because when she was live with Chad, she had a white mug that she wrote on #Team Chad. And so you really just can't top that. I know that Kristen is one of the only people that's Team Chad, and that's okay. That's why we have a #Team Ray and #Team Jeff t-shirt over in the swag store. So lots of good products there that you can go grab to show your support. Are you Team Jeff or Team Ray, Brian?
There's so many good people involved in the Teach Better team.
Who are you live with right now? Let's clarify this. Whose team are you on?
Well, Jeff just said to me that I'm #Team Jeff.
He is in the comments, and I am live on camera with you, and you're going to pretend like you're Team Jeff. You don't even need to answer. We know you're Team Ray.
Okay.
We know.
All right.
Yes.
Just to be clear. Sure. How are you
for all the people commenting, we have Jeff Kaplan with us. Holly's in here. Alex. We have Jeff Gargis, who we'll nicely say goodbye to. You should be going. Bree's in here. Will you kind of tell us, Brian, for those people who may not be connected with you yet, maybe don't know you, but obviously do know that you're Team Ray, what is your role in education? Why are you joining us this morning for our daily drop-in?
Well, again, thanks for having me. This is the second time I've been able to be a part of the daily drop-in, so it's clear that you've scraped the bottom of the barrel and have to bring me back. So once again, I'm a high school principal. I've been working in education for 20 years from Illinois, middle school and high school experience. This year is my first year as a high school principal. I'm really enjoying that journey together. Totally normal year, nothing to see here. That's a little bit of my story. I'm in a doctoral program right now, finishing up my dissertation on the use of social media for school districts, and more than that, just a fan of education and what we get to do kind of every day with kids.
Well, I'm excited to dive into a lot of different projects that you're working on, because I have had the pleasure of not only seeing the work that you're doing as a principal in your high school setting, but also the study that you're doing with your dissertation is so up my alley. I love to talk shop about it. So we'll get to all those things. I do want to make sure I mention, and Jeff threw it in the comments, Holly Stewart, I know that you're in here somewhere. We gave you a shout out on our podcast episode last night that we were recording. It doesn't come out till next week, but you have to make sure you're a listener of Teach Better Talk podcast, which, by the way, all of you should be, because these daily drop-ins, the full audio is becoming a bonus episode on Teach Better Talk podcast. And obviously you can find the videos outside of our group on our YouTube channel. But it was always fun to give a little shout out. We've done a shout out for a lot of cool people. But Holly did get a special shout out yesterday that I thought was cool to highlight. You've been a part of multiple Teach Better Talk podcast episodes, Brian, because you not only joined us as a guest, but being on the Daily Drop-In numerous times. I feel like you're kind of a regular now.
I'm just wearing you guys down.
Yes, that'll be good. You also, outside of all the work you're doing, have been an active participant in our administrative mastermind group that we're doing, that the Teach Better team is facilitating, which officially is meeting on Tuesday afternoons at 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. So we just can't get rid of you. You're kind of like, what's something that you can't get rid of, like a bad penny? Is that what it is?
That will probably be the value that I provide, about a penny's worth of thoughts. I will say the administrator, mind. What are we calling that? The thing that we're doing today at 2. The mastermind. Yeah, the administrative mastermind. The mastermind. That has been extremely beneficial in getting to be connected with administrators throughout the country. So kudos to the Teach Better team for putting that together as well. So would you recommend any administrator, whether they're joining us right now for the Daily Drop-In or listening to this after the fact, or if you're an educator listening and maybe you're a classroom teacher or some sort of coach, you could send the information to your administrative group and say, hey, you should join this. Do you think it's beneficial for kind of anybody in that district leadership role to be a part of it? Sure, I think so. I think, we're all trying to solve the same problems, probably district by district, state by state, of, how to handle this pandemic and what school could look like, or what school's looking like right now, or what it's going to look like in the fall. And sometimes, you think about, talking with your own team or people in your workplace. And it's good to sometimes see that affirmation that you're on the right track, or to hear something completely different that you haven't thought of yet. So we're kind of all in this together. We're all trying to do the same things for students. We have we have different communities and different ways to go about the work that we're doing, and communities are a little bit different. There's might be some equity issues in a community. There may be resource issues in a community, sure, but at the end of the day, there's some universal truths that we can probably all learn from, and things like the mastermind or podcasts or daily drop-ins. You should be able to take a little bit of a nugget from everything and apply it somewhere. Well, that's what we're hoping for. If you are listening right now and you either want to join or you want to send the link to the administrative mastermind registration, you can simply go to teachbetter.com/mastermind. And it's completely free. It's exclusive for administrators or district leaders. But I do love that Dave Schmittou says that it's been awesome so far. Such good questions and answers and just really great resources shared. Somebody is asking if it's a Twitter chat. It's not a Twitter chat. Really what you're able to do is you're registering for the event. You'll get a link for a Zoom meeting, a private Zoom meeting. And we all come together and talk shop. Sometimes we break up into small groups. Sometimes we stay in one large group, but essentially people pose questions. It's just a facilitated discussion.
Has there been any topics that come to mind, Brian, that have come up that you feel like were beneficial to get all these administrators from around the country talking on?
Yeah, I think so. We're all kind of talking about, how do you support teachers during this time? So that was a big discussion last week. We've talked about kind of events, what you're doing for graduations or proms or retirement parties, lots of different types of things that, are kind of event based, but overall, how are you supporting, your students, your parents, and your teachers during this time? And it's been a good resource. It's been nice to see some of our friends who are consistent on the Teach Better team, and then get an opportunity to meet some new people as well.
Yeah, it's been so fun. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot that's come up, and that's what I kind of like about them is that we're just discussing whatever's top of mind. So, rather than the team necessarily facilitating the conversation, more in a webinar setting where we're presenting on a topic and then taking questions on that topic. More so, it really is an open forum for administrators to come together. It's a free event. So you kind of can pop in every single week and become a regular, or just pop in when you have something that's, on your heart, and to be able to gather resources, talk shop with people. And these are administrators and district leaders that are anywhere from, an elementary district to a high school setting and anything in between. And so it's really created a good forum. I do love the All in This Together Troy shout out for High School Musical. Somebody is enjoying that reference.
The High School Musical reference? Oh, come on.
Yeah. Gotta love it.
Top notch.
Would you mind, Brian? I think you have a great singing voice. Do you want to sing that for us this morning?
Sure, absolutely.
I do want to give a shout out. Somebody is asking that they're saying, I hope that the mastermind continues through this summer, that they have staff meetings. And so it's not easy for them to make like a 2:00 start time Central. It's actually 3:00 Eastern as well on Tuesdays. Carrie, no stress. These are specific meetings that are for administrative leaders. And if you can't make them, we are doing them every single Tuesday. So depending on when your school may end, you might be able to pop in for a few. I do expect them to continue for a while. I don't think we have an end date on those. So as far as I know, I can half promise you that they'll be all summer long. As far as other elements we're doing, I know our daily drop-ins are concluding the weekend of Memorial Day. So we only have about a week and a half left of those, which is kind of sad. I've loved doing these daily drop-ins every morning since mid-March, which has been wonderful. But we are excited to at least have the mastermind continue as long as humanly possible, as long as it's helpful for that community. And we do have a number of webinar series that will be kicking off that will allow other outlets for coaches and classroom teachers to have a similar type of environment to talk shop and really hone in on their craft. So, the team, we're just trying to do good stuff. Brian, would you mind sharing a little bit? I know we haven't necessarily brought up this topic, but you're doing a lot of research for your dissertation, and I don't mean to butter you up, but I love your topic. And so would you mind kind of sharing what you're doing research on? Because it's so relevant to any teacher, any administrator listening right now who's looking to kick off the year right in August. I think they can use this information.
Sure. I'm in the last year of my program, and I have an opportunity, hopefully this summer, to defend my dissertation if the rest of the story goes well. But essentially what I'm studying is how schools and school districts use social media to build relationships with their community. So the theory is called social ties, which is quite involved. But essentially what I'm doing is following a number of school districts, high school districts, and looking at all of their posts and tweets for about a 90-day period. And then trying to code or categorize what they're trying to say. I'm using a framework in Illinois called the Illinois 5 Essentials that we're familiar with here. But it's, how aligned are you in your communication strategies? How are you supporting, your overall environment? What are you talking about instruction? I'm certainly learning that video is king. I think the other piece that I'm learning is, which concerns people a lot, is if I take a video of something in my school, or a teacher takes a video of something in their school or post, a lot of times people might be concerned with comments. What would somebody say? What would somebody do? What's kind of that civility issue? And what I'm finding is absolute kindness, absolute congratulations, absolute humbleness in those posts. And so it's been really cool going through that. I would say 85% of the way through, and the findings on it really is the encouragement for educators who might be humble in nature to put out their content. We always talk about whether you're, an elementary student, middle school student, or high school student, when they come home and they talk to their parents and they say, "How was school?" Generally the answer is, "Fine." "What'd you do?" "Nothing." "Do you have any homework?" "I already did it." And, they can dismiss, and they don't mean to do it in a negative way, but they can dismiss, 8 to 3 in about 30 seconds. And the more opportunities we have to reach out to our public and share the great work that we're doing and establish that professional learning network is really just kind of a fascinating piece for me. So that's a little bit of the study.
Well, and I really want to break that down, if you don't mind, because I just know that there's a lot of really important takeaways that our network can really benefit from. Andrea commented saying it's such an effective topic. And I completely agree, because as we start talking about social media, I would argue a few months ago, not even a few months ago, there are still districts who are so anxious to even touch social media. I know most districts haven't even created a social media policy, even though I know a lot of teachers who are trying to utilize this tool. I mean, even at teachbetteracademy.com, we have a course on how educators can use social media to connect with their families.
Right.
But what I've really seen more than ever, now that we're in, this COVID-19 pandemic, is that people are so eager, so hungry to communicate with their community, because we are all so disconnected and living in isolation. And so the study, while I'm confident was a great topic before, I think is so important now. And I think your tie-in to the 5 essentials allows us to not just talk about what's being shared, but how that is really directly correlating to then other elements of the school system. So tell me a little bit about commenting, because I think that that's probably the thing that I hear most often. And you guys can share in the comments now if that is the fear that you hear. But I would assume district leaders, they're always nervous that when they share something, it just gets bombarded with negativity. And so did you find that happens often, happens sometimes? What should people be worried about?
Yeah, I think throughout the study, I'm finding what is being posted, what is being talked about, or what is being put together on a video or a YouTube channel, really is being received very well. When you congratulate somebody on their retirement, or you provide a little snippet into your institute day or your school improvement plan or something along those lines, you're just being more transparent. And I think as school leaders, we have to recognize that if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And the more that we talk about education, that it's something that's going to be discussed on a baseball field or in a parking lot or in a backyard. People are going to talk about their schools. Neighborhood schools are a big part of who we are in education and in this country. So being able to put out some of the content in order to drive that conversation, so families have an idea of what's happening in the classroom, what's happening in the school, what are the vision and values. There's just a lot of positivity that comes from that. And the schools over time, have taken the role of, being concerned about technology and being concerned about the things that they should have been concerned about years ago, bullying and cyberbullying and trolling on the internet and things like that. And I think more over time, that school Facebook page, that school Twitter account, school Snapchat accounts, all of the things that we have right now are really coming to the point where they're being received well. There are always going to be kind of those rogue pages in a school district, the whatever kind of pages that are sponsored, but those are okay too. And I think it's important that we have that social listening, use tools in order to understand what's going on, and then kind of create that face-to-face dialogue as well too. I took from you guys the daily drop-in idea, and now we're doing that Wednesdays during this time away. And it's been great just to do kind of exactly what we're doing right now with our parents, communities, and teachers. And it's been well received, and the questions are good, and they're coming from a place of they want to know information, they want to support their own children. So who could be against sharing information?
Well, and a lot of people are connecting. You said the statement earlier, and then people are putting their own spin on it. But everyone's really sharing this whole idea of like, if you don't tell your story, then someone else will. And how can we control the narrative? We talk very often, and it's been in our webinar series that we're doing right now that's free for teachers, which is focused on better at a distance, and other avenues like our daily drop-ins, talking about how teachers need to get on camera communicating with their families, because you can hear their tone and see their expression. And, there's so many different relatable elements with that. And that does translate extremely well at a district level as well, wanting to communicate with families. So I like this idea of utilizing video. I think you doing a daily drop-in with your community is genius. That allows everybody to kind of get on the same page and reset every single Wednesday. But I do want to go back to, if I'm an educator listening, so maybe I'm a classroom teacher, or I'm a administrator or district leader, whatever it is, what would be kind of like some easy ideas on things to share? Because the other thing that I know, because you and I present on this topic together at conferences around the country, is talking about, get on social media, And the most recent time we presented together, we had a group that said, okay, Brian Ray, I'm on social media. I made my account. I picked the photo. What do I talk about now? How do I share? What do I share? So are there any common like things that you're seeing? Okay, like these are like the 3 or 4 or 5 topics that you could be sharing on social media that gives maybe a district some guidance on how they should be communicating with their district.
Sure. If we look at school as 8 to 3, and then after school is 3 o'clock and beyond, I think the things that have been king pretty much so far have been those extracurricular activities, musicals, clubs, sports activities. Those do very well on social media. People are proud of their community. They're proud of their athletic programs. They're proud of the kids performing. Their 5th grade musical. Their sophomore basketball team. Doing well in a tournament. Those are all things that kind of from the beginning you could start with as a school or a school district, just sharing out information like that. That's fairly, there's not going to be typical issues, related to that. I think the next piece is kind of getting into, the hallways, into the lunchrooms, into, kids coming into school through, the variety of doors and welcoming them. There's some people on Twitter and other social media who are just absolute rock stars in terms of, them welcoming kids to school every day. I think about the Joe Sanfilippe's and folks like that who are just, they've branded it. They're so good at giving you a peek into their lives and how they lead. And, you have to be yourself. So you have to be, comfortable with what you're doing. But, outside of the after school activities and a little bit of like kind of what you would refer to as maybe like B-roll footage that you would see on the news, then you have to take a little bit of a risk and get into your classroom. And I think as educators, sometimes we get a little bit of, we're humble. We want to make a difference in our classroom with our kids, and but we can really help other teachers. We can help other schools, other education ecosystems, so that they can see what's happening in their classroom. So things like student testimonials would be really nice. Kids explaining how they learned something, what goals they set along the way in order to accomplish that. And just that sense of pride and positivity would be just a few examples of things that you can do on any platform, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or beyond.
No, I totally agree, and that's exactly what I wanted, because the comments are going crazy right now. I can't even read all of these. So I love that you guys are engaging with each other in the comments. It's exactly what this is for. when we come live for our daily drop-in, we do want this to be more of a conversation. We want to make sure that your questions are answered, your voice is heard. And of course, if you just want to be a consumer, you can listen to this on our YouTube channel after the fact, or listen to it as a bonus episode, Teach Better Talk podcast. But people are just eating up this idea. And I want to go back to your idea of what to be sharing, because you just listed off 5 or 6 different things that we can do, whether we're in the classroom physically or in a remote learning environment, just to celebrate. And I think the student, kind of like showcase is kind of something I really love. It's something that I'm seeing in my own school, just trying to highlight the amazing people that are a part of the family of your school building. We call ourselves in the building I'm in, like Eagle Nation, showing the faces of what students are doing right now, how remote learning's going. And, it's always wonderful to see the faces of students being represented by the district. I really love that stuff. Is there anything that throughout your study you were surprised about, or that you feel like is really important for people to know? I mean, I know you're doing, a small study with three schools, but I can only imagine the information you're getting is surprising, because I think this was a topic that people were kind of uncomfortable with that you took on.
Sure. I think Facebook is when you look at the research on user habits of Americans, you go to your Pew Research sites, things like that. Our parents are in the demographic. The parents that we serve are in the demographic that Facebook is really for them. I'm certainly noticing that Twitter is more for educators and Instagram is for kids. The schools that I think are doing well, can use software like a Buffer or something where you're scheduling your tweets or you're scheduling all your posts together. But there's really kind of 3 different voices, because there's 3 different audiences. So, when you're putting your information out, it may need to change slightly, which ends up being maybe triple the work, but it also has triple the outcome. So when you're, the other piece that I'm really noticing is looking at the analytics of posts, and video by far it reaches the most amount of engagements. If you think about if a principal or superintendent or a classroom teacher needs to communicate something in a newsletter, maybe it's 2 to 3 paragraphs and it has a couple bullet points in it, and some links to things like that. Knowing that if you record that message, even a screencastify, and then send that out, you're going to get higher levels of engagement, because people need that human connection. They want to see your face, or they want to hear your voice. And there's always time for that static newsletter. But even that newsletter has to be more engaging, using tech tools. I'm sure you have a million of them, but you are competing against so many people's options for what to do with their time, and they have their smartphone in front of them all the time, and you want them to read something about remote learning, and they're getting notifications from 7 different platforms, and you're trying to keep their attention. So how long can you keep somebody's attention and share what it is that is important for you to share, and then archive it in a place that they can go get it back at another time?
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I love that all those tips and tricks that you just provided. The comments are going crazy, kind of giving shout outs to schools that are either on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. They're doing amazing things. So if you're listening to this right now as a bonus episode of Teach Better Talk podcast, or you're watching it on YouTube, you really need to go to our group at teachbettergroup.com, because it is just, there are constantly handles being shared right now of people that are, kind of celebrating the work that their own district is doing in this area, a lot of which has been sparked because of COVID-19. And Brian, I think you're just adding to the ideas that people are getting right now of what they can be sharing. And I think it's really important that you talk about scheduling posts, because like you said before, we absolutely want to be on social media, but we also need to find the balance of not truly living exclusively on social media. So if you know that you have a message that you want to share, you can do it in a way similar to a lesson plan, where it is a little strategic. It doesn't mean that every so often you don't share something off the cuff, but you can really shape that story, which is what kind of sparked this conversation, 20 minutes ago of what do you really want the narrative to be of your school? And you can craft that and have that scheduled for your audience to see during hot times when people are on their phones and elements like that. I do want to give a little shout out. Sorry to derail us, but Andrea gave a shout out to my principal, Christopher McGraw, who's doing amazing things on social media, especially has upped his game since COVID-19. And I just want to celebrate all the principals, all the teachers, all the district leaders that are really upping their game in this area to create that culture, even though we're not physically in the building. It's challenging to do, but it's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if we have all these different things being shared, people are referring to Twitter in the comments, Facebook in the comments, Instagram. Do you have one that you prefer over others? You kind of alluded to like there being 3 different audiences. Will you tell us a little bit more about what those 3 audiences are?
Sure. I think, at the high school level, there's so many opportunities with club sports activities, honor societies, junior class, senior class, things like that. Those programs or platforms that are run by kids, are definitely more suited more towards like an Instagram type of approach. There's more interaction. The demographics that's where the kids are at. So you have to post where the kids are at. So kind of creating that hashtag for the school or for that club or activity or sport is important. Kids understand how to tag and tweet at somebody or post at somebody. I'm finding, Twitter, it kind of grows that professional learning network amongst educators. That's where, like Mastery Chat, for example, that you guys run, Thursday nights, the Twitter chats, that happen all the time. I mean, it'd be amazing if there was some sort of a Google Doc that said, here's the Twitter chat that's going on. This is the day that it's happening, almost like a roadmap to Twitter chat, so that you stand a fighting chance to be able to jump into one. I mean, you can't go into all of them, and it's important that you probably stay consistent with your own PLN. But the one piece too is even when we're in-person education, there's opportunities during the day, where people are doing drop off or pickup. If you think about our littles at the elementary level, if school ends at 3:00, parents are sitting there at 2:00, 2:15 every single day, waiting on side streets or in the parking lot. That's a great opportunity as they're sitting there thumbing on their phone. They got their car in park or it's off, and they're being safe, and that's a great opportunity to post some new content because they're just sitting there waiting for something to do until their kids get there. So if you can send something right there in the carpool lane, there's an opportunity right there.
Well, and I really, really like that recommendation because it really takes you knowing your community to kind of know what and when to share. And I think that is absolutely exactly what you're looking for in terms of tips. I do have one challenging comment I want to throw at you only because you and I have discussed about this at length. And so I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. But Adam posted in the comments that he says, my principal's not really into social media. And then he kind of goes into how, his principal trusts other people to help share the story. But, we're 33 minutes in. I'm thrilled that we were able to talk so much on this topic because I really, really love that you are exploring this and finding such amazing impact of social media for communicating with our communities. But I won't lie, I always go back to so if I'm a teacher right now and I know this is important, but my principal or my district leadership is saying, don't go on social media or, not doing what they can to share their story. Any advice on how to help kind of maybe change that fear into, trust in trying something new?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody has to, you work in a community that reflects the values of the community, or maybe the values of your administration. So I think everybody has to be responsible within that. There may be some good reasons related to privacy or FERPA laws or whatever the case may be. There may be a history to that story. I think a good open dialogue on what it is that they're trying to do, how they're trying to connect. But if you think about it with any initiative, if a teacher wants to start, flipping their classroom, and maybe their leadership kind of doesn't know what that is or isn't quite familiar yet, invite them in. Share opportunities to say, come check this out. If a classroom teacher or school counselor wants to, host a parent university night, and somebody says, I don't know what that is, or, you have to provide, an opportunity. I'm finding that there's not that many things, in education that everybody is that against. And so it's not that you're against social media, or that might be a platform you're not comfortable, but who is against good communication? You're not going to get people to raise their hand and say, I don't want to share anything with the public about what we're doing. So I think what you have to do is show how can the message that you're already communicating be enhanced or hindered with the use of social media. So if it's hindered, then that's not the right cause. That's not the right way to put some things out there. But if it can be enhanced, then I think it's just taking some time, working with your PLCs, working with your groups of leaders in your building, and saying, hey, I think this would be beneficial to help kind of create that social tie in my classroom with my parents and with my students. I'd like to try this. Some other suggestions, I know due to privacy, sometimes people are concerned about, again, those comments or what people might say. So creating those closed Facebook groups for, your classroom might be a good solution that people might be able to live with a little bit better.
No, I think that's important. And I do want to mention, we've been live for about 40 minutes. And I know that you have a staff meeting at the top of the hour. So any final questions that people want to post in the comments to get your thoughts on, this would be a great time to do that. But I really think that your focus on open dialogue is the first step for any problem. We reference this often in a number of different things that I've been able to do, but this business idea of like speaking to the issue, you really need to speak into that fear. If you don't know where the fear comes from, if you don't know where the hesitation comes from that's resulting in the no, then you're not able to actually solve the fear, the problem. And so, we just got a comment real quick that said, what if they don't listen? And the reality is that open dialogue may take longer than you are hoping for it to. And it also may result in numerous conversations that you have to work through to get to the root of the issue. And, we actually presented at IdeaCon together. And at that conference specifically, I was a part of a session that talked about asking why 5 times to try and get to the root of the problem.
Right.
And that I think really applies here as well. It's not an overnight fix, but an open dialogue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I am thrilled that you were able to join us this morning, Brian. I do want to make sure that we respect your time. I know you have a lot going on today with your own staff and the amazing things that you're a part of. Would you mind sharing? I mean, there's been endless comments about people really connecting with what you've shared and probably wanting more information, maybe wanting to talk shop about how they can bring this message to their district. How can people stay connected to you?
I think you'll certainly tag us in this, but my Twitter is at Brian Zwemke, Brian with a Y because my mom spelled it like that. So at BRYAN ZWEMKE. Same thing on Instagram, same thing on Facebook. Happy to take some questions or reach out, or if somebody DMs me, have a conversation or set up some time. Certainly think that I don't have all the answers along the way. I've made plenty of mistakes, posted the wrong things at the wrong times, or didn't have the transparency ready, or didn't have the buy-in, or whatever the case may be. So you have to understand that there's always a level of risk anytime you share anything with anybody. And the more that you understand what those risk factors are, then there's a better opportunity for you to be successful. So yeah, I think telling that story of the good times and the bad times on social media is certainly something that I'd be willing to do with people. Certainly be willing to help folks as they get started in their classroom, just doing a little bit at a time, and happy to do that.
It's so wonderful. And a lot of people in the comments already saying how wonderful this conversation has been. They've grown so much, and thanking you for your time as well. So we really appreciate you being here. I do want to give another shout out to our mastermind that Brian is also a part of quite frequently. You can register free for that for any district leader at teachbetter.com/mastermind. And then just to give a little plug for Jeff Gargas, the Teach Better team released Coming Back Better packages that allows school districts to really have an idea of what message and tone they want to set in August. The Come Back Better packages can be accessible at teachbetter.com, but Jeff Gargas is being featured in one of the example packages we put together, all dedicated to rebranding your school after COVID-19 and really sending the right message. So it goes along perfectly with what we were able to share today. And hopefully all of you listening have an outlet, whether it be to connect with Brian or the thousands of other educators who are really trying to share the right message and connect with their community. We really appreciate the work that you do. So for everybody else, we will see you tomorrow morning for our daily drop-in. But thank you again, Brian, for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Everybody stay safe and stay in touch.
Bye, guys.